Hey Jasper, we live in a pretty neat place.
Yeah, there's lots of fun things to do in our community. I think downtown's my favorite.
Hey Jasper, how do you think all of these cool things get to Tucson?
I think they come on a train.
Hey look, it's a train museum. Probably the manager will know.
Good idea. Let's go. Hey look, it's a train museum.
Oh yeah, let's go in.
Welcome. Come on in, boys.
Wow, this place is really cool.
Welcome, and welcome to the Southern Arizona Transportation Museum, or sometimes known as the Train Museum. Come on in.
Come on,
Enjoy.
guys. Let's go see some stuff.
I learned in history class that Chinese workers built the transcontinental railroad. Were there any Chinese workers working on this railroad?
There were thousands of Chinese workers that built the railroad through southern Arizona.
Was there anybody like me who helped build the railroad?
Yes, there was. There were thousands of young Chinese men that worked on the railroad. The Southern Pacific Railroad started in California. It moved through Arizona into southern Arizona, New Mexico, and then into Texas.
So everybody had a job.
Even kids.
Even kids. You would not be working on building the railroad if you did not have a job. And every job was important because the people that organized building the railroad wouldn't employ anyone that was not important. So even kids, not too much older than you guys, actually worked on helping to build the railroad, and they were the water boys.
Can you tell us a story about the water boys?
Well, there was a water boy by the name of Tom Loy who wound up living in Tucson.
Wow.
Well, Tom Loy worked on the entire railroad through southern Arizona in 1880. But the place that he would have spent the most time is out in the Cienega Creek. That was the hardest part of the railroad to build, and that's where the Chinese spent the most time. So that's where Tom Loy would have spent the most time in Arizona.
I wish I could see where he helped build the railroad.
You know, I think that's a good idea, and I think we could do that. Well, you guys are going to be reenacting what it was like to be a water boy on the Southern Pacific. And people now think of water boys as the guys that bring, bottles of water out to somebody during a tennis match or something. Tennis match, or, give somebody a glass of water in a football game.
Oh
Yeah. It's not like that back in the olden days when they built the railroad. Water boys were part of a whole community. It was a traveling village that built the railroad. So they worked across all of the crews. They brought water to the cooks who cooked for the crews. They brought water to the special trades like the blacksmiths. They brought water out to the crews. Now the Chinese crews didn't drink plain water, they drank weak tea, but still you'd have to take it out to them. They supplied all of the cooks with water, and they supplied all of the animal handlers. So you could have had water boys that maybe worked with the horses all the time. Horses drink a lot of water, so especially when they're working hard in a place like this. So there would have been a lot of use for the water boys. The railroad would not have used water boys if they didn't have to. So everybody on a crew had a job, and they were very important. Even a small job on a thing like building the railroad was really important.
I have a question.
Okay.
How much water could water boy carry?
I think some of the water boys could carry a lot. Now, water weighs a little over 8 pounds per gallon. So it's kind of heavy. So if you've got, let's say, 2 or 3 gallons on one side and 2 or 3 gallons on the other. But you know what? If you guys grew up in 19th century China, probably by now you would be really experienced in using a carry pole to carry water, because that's the way it was done back then. So the water boys back then came on with a little bit of experience that you guys don't have. So you guys ready to carry a little water?
Yeah. I guess so.
All right, let's get to work.
Let's
I think you got about 30 pounds. I think you have about 1 cubic foot of water there.
You can barely even
Now,
walk
what
in. No, I'm
my
walking in a
grandfather
circle.
did, he would walk along the tracks where they were building the tracks, and the people that were hammering, putting the spikes and laying the rail, they would get thirsty. And we're in the shade, but they're outside in the sun, and it's really hot, and it's all day. And guess what they need?
Water.
Water, yes.
Hi, this is Miles. I want to let you know, during the time Tom Lloyd lived, children were allowed to work, even in dangerous conditions, like building the railroads. Today, with our modern child labor laws, this will not be allowed. Today, our job is to go to school and do well in school. But this doesn't mean we can't do our part to help the community.
My grandfather, I'm not really sure, but he was 14 years old when he came to the United States, and he got a job with the Southern Pacific, and he worked for them for 10 years. So I would say he was a water boy for maybe 2 or 3 years when they were laying the tracks. So that's how he wound up in Tucson.
Was your grandfather allowed to go with his family?
No, that's another good question. He came here all by himself
Why?
because they had a famine. They could not farm in China. He had to find another way of making money and feeding his relatives. My grandfather would make money here, basically feed himself, but he also saved this money and sent it back to his relatives so they could buy food and buy clothing and send their kids to school.
I thought that was pretty cool that the water boys had to carry so much water each day. I couldn't even carry the buckets.
It was a hard job. How did you like meeting Mr. Tom and hearing about his grandfather?
I think it was pretty cool that he worked on the railroad, helping carry water to the animals, to the other workers.
I do too. I agree with you. I think he did a really hard job, and he probably did it very well.
Wow, even kids helped.
Yes, even kids helped. There was a big community of people that built the railroad, and in order for the community to function, everybody in that community had a job to do. It didn't make any difference if you were a water boy or the big boss. The whole community had to work together to get the job done, which was building the railroad through Arizona. Well, thank you guys very much for coming into the museum. I hope you had a good time today.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Miles, that was really cool, right?
Yeah, I can't believe kids can help their community. And that's a lot to think about.
Yeah, that's a lot to think about.